Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So as I was saying, it's about being able to zoom out and say, if we are able to understand what is the purpose, why these changes are being made, and we also have an understanding of what could be the likely impact, and therefore making it a little experiential, I think most of it would have been useful for people, right? So that's the reason why we took a little bit of time to figure out how should we do this. Is it deep dive? Does it mean each and every change? Are we looking at So what are we really looking at here? So that's the little story behind the naming of this webinar, and I just wanted to quickly share with you. All right, just give me a minute. Yes. And let me just share a little bit about who we are. And we won't take much time because I know everybody is very keen to listen to Anita and understand from her what it is all about. A little bit about Systemic Coaching International, SCI. We are happy that Anita agreed to do this webinar for everybody who's on the coaching journey. And the reason why we also thought this would be useful is one of the experiences has been many people on the coaching journey, they learn, they train, and many of them fall off the path. So if you actually look at the number of people who have enrolled into a coach training program and the number of people who complete the credential, the ratio is not very great, right? And therefore, maybe there are some of these nudges which are required for people to help them understand, how they can stay connected with what's happening. And therefore, we thought of this webinar, which kind of aligns with our purpose to say, how can we enable systemic change? So in this context, it could possibly be about people how can you nudge people to complete their coaching journey, credentialing journey process, support them by bringing webinars like this. So enable systemic change, sustainable and rapid. That's our purpose. That's a little bit about Systemic Coaching International. And I think one of the things that we are trying to do this is by creating a self-sustaining ecosystem, which is focused on continuously learning and growing. And therefore, a self-sustaining ecosystem basically means that learn systemically whatever is required to be learned in and around coaching, which helps in terms of change and development. And growth is also about personal and professional development. And I want to bring this out here because it's not just about learning all the time. It's also about saying, how do we put that learning into practice in terms of opportunities that we have? So that's a little bit about Systemic Coaching International. And these are some of those things that we do. At the core of it is systemic change. And it's not about presenting one solution, it's about presenting a solution which enables the organization and the potential client to say what is it that would be most useful for them, and therefore making it systemic, making it sustainable, and making it rapid as well. So these are some of those things that we do. With this, I would like to introduce, while many of you may know Anita, but I would still like to introduce Anita. And the reason I would like to introduce Anita is, while everybody does know she's an MCC and EMCC senior practitioner, and she's a leadership coach and consultant, I think what's very important to understand is she's here because she's been part of the independent review board of the ICF Ethics. And she's been there since 2018. So none better than Anita to really understand more about the changes. And I don't know if Anita is the only one from India who's also part of the IRB, the Independent Review Board of ICF Ethics. So, and her background she's been a business leader in the technology sector for over 3+ decades. And with that, all over to you, Anita. I'm going to stop sharing.
So much. Thank you. So quite a few of you know that I'm most uncomfortable with introductions of any sort. So I'm just going to jump in directly and say that one of the things that Saras mentioned was about who all are in the IRB. So apart from me, I'm really happy that there's another person called Mukesh Sharma. He is also coach from India, and he's also part of the Independent Review Board. So what the IRB does is that if there's a complaint against us as coaches or ICF professionals, then the board will come together and then we will look at, the complainant and the coach under that complaint. and then we will decide or try our best to give a decision which helps actually in the growth, just like what Sarah said, the growth of the coaching professional is what we're looking at. It's not punitive. It's really about understanding the code in a way so that we all are aligned on the values and purpose, etc., of ICF as a body. So with that, I'm going to be jumping through quite a few slides because I want to make sure that we have a very interactive interaction here. So in about 10 minutes time, Nitin is going to flag out in case I do not reach slide number 7, which is where the case studies will start. So please bear with me. I think these slides will also be made available. Saras, I guess, will somehow manage that. So I'm going to start my share. So please ignore, I do not have any fancy slides. It's a very blank slide, but hopefully it'll just serve as a quick anchor to what we're talking about. So why do we need the code, right? The code of ethics. Basically, it sets the standards for conduct between all of us globally so that we all understand the code in a way which is common across. So there are certain core values that we all cherish. I'll just do a quick refresh for that. Then the values have ethical principles, and then there's a behavior, because it's not that it's during the session that we say, this coaching session is confidential. Whatever we talk about will remain between me and my client. But actually, it's also in terms of how do I embody that code? All that stuff is there in the code, but how do I show up in every interaction with my stakeholders in the entire coaching journey, right? So there are multiple decision points, ethical dilemmas that might come before, after, whenever we start the coaching journey with a particular client. During that time, I believe that integrity is what holds us together when we have to have courage to pick up one of those options that are available in front of us, which we believe best embodies the way that an ICF professional will conduct themselves. So it's the code of ethics every time. It's not black and white. It's always a continuum of that gray. So we try and make the best decision. In order to do that as coaches, we have to have some guiding principle, guiding document, if you may, which serves us in our reflection, as well as our decision making. Of course, the other purpose of that is that we use that in the ECR process. That's ICF using it when there is a complaint against a professional. And of course, coaching organizations where we would have learned how to coach would also use that as part of their training. So one of the things that I wanted to do, but maybe we will pause that, is I'm sure that each one of us has had ethical dilemmas to deal with. Anybody wants to share very quickly? Because I think I've talked enough. So I just want to invite anybody to say, what is that ethical dilemma that you had and what did you do at that time? Anybody? Stop the share. Saras, okay. Saras, go.
Thanks, Anita. And something that that we shared earlier. So this organization, very different from most other organization, has made it clear that hey, coaches, you create WhatsApp group with all your coaches. Coaches know the who's being coached, everything. So that's the way the organization is. What happened? I got a coachee midway. Now, what do I do? So do I add this person to the existing group? This group has already got a rhythm going on, while the organization is saying, no, no need to, be not transparent about it. But the reason possibly in that is there in my mind is because this coach is being transferred from one coach to me. So what do I do? I don't know.
You're sitting with that dilemma right now. What do you want to do?
I would ideally not like to disturb what's going on and possibly take the call saying that, hey, the others anyway have got a rhythm and a system going, and I'm going to be adding something here which might, disrupt that, and they don't need to know.
And what assumption? Yeah, Nitin, please go.
It's very interesting. So there is a assignment which is going on. And so there are no specific directions from the organizations to do something or not do something. Okay. And there are, few coaches and we have few coaches, and, these coaches are going to coach coaches. Um, and I'm thinking, is there a need for me to so I went ahead and shared the allocation of who's going to coach who, right, with the coaches. And then we did kick off, and I'm wondering, is that a private information or is that going to go against ethics if I will expose the allocation of coaches to the coaches as well, right? And, I did not know what to do at that point in time. Uh, Subtle, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So there's a lot of I don't knows, right? That'll happen in our lives as coaches. And I think that's what makes the code just so much interesting to be able to deep dive. And I think we can just spend hours together just discussing these things, right? So thank you for sharing that. And I think in the interest of time, I'm just going to go ahead and start a few, because there might be a few of us that might want a kind of a structure of, okay, I came here to understand what are the changes in the code. So let me first start with that, finish that, and then we'll jump into something that's more concrete. This is a quick slide to really just remind us that the values that we uphold are professionalism, collaboration, humanity, and equity. That's ICF's values. Each value is defined over there. I've picked up one of them, like how do I demonstrate now professionalism? Yeah. So the code actually, if you see, has got that so that we all globally understand what do we mean in ICF terms being professional. One of the things in that is that I am true in and accurate in my statements that I make. That's being professional. So when you do that, the code further goes down to also defining that under one of the standards, and I've called that out, 5.2. Make verbal and written statements, etc., etc. Yeah. So I just want to draw that connection so we don't see the code as here is a checklist of things. Let me just remember them and pass the exam. But really, it's about how are we trying to embody that through our interactions. This is a slide which is complicated, but it's just to say that whether you got trained as a ICF coach using the previous or the code of ethics of 2020, or whether you will now be on the 2025 code. So as of April this year, the 2025 code, the new code or the revised, enhanced, I don't want to say enhanced, it's a revision. So that particular code is in effect, right? So I have to embody the code from 2025 onwards. But if I take my coaching exam this year, then the 2020 code is what I might want to familiarize myself with, as we all will. However, just to say that the good part is both of these codes, the essence remains the same. The 28 code standards that were there in the 2020 code, they remain together in the same form pretty much, except that there are two additions in the code of 2025, and there are a few codes that got changed or merged together. So for example, you see that code number, the standard 1 and 2 of the 2020 code are now merged under one called 1.1 under 2025. So there have been a few standards that have been reorganized, as this particular slide says. There's one that we deleted, or one of them that got deleted was whether or not I will, as a coach, be delivering to the same standard of quality that I can offer regardless of the form of compensation, which means that if I get less money from a client, will I show up differently? Now, what does that showing up differently mean? Of course, we have to deliver consistent quality, but if it comes to adjudication, can I look at it objectively, factually, or is it difficult to say, did Anita deliver the same quality of service or not? So that's been deleted, but it shows up in a different form. Mainly, you will see that the organization of this has been changed in 2025, making it much simpler for us to look at the code under labels. And I'll have another slide coming up for that. Maybe I don't have it in this version. I'll send it out. But there is one which says agreement, for example. So all the agreement related standards are under one category inside the 2025 code. Similarly, contracts is in one section. So with that, it makes it easier for us as well as our clients who may not be ICF professionals to be able to look at the code and say, okay, this is where I should look at the section. So there are only 24 standards now compared to 28. But as I said, the nuance of everything else is the same, whichever one you see. Now, ICF, you know it all, is that it gives us enough time to transition from one code to the other code, as well as anything that changes in ICF. So even if you were to be able to take an exam next year, this whole of this year will be on the 2020 code. Okay. The two new standards that I said, and one of the things that came up was, as the world changes, we have to keep the code updated with the changes that are happening. One of the biggest things that everybody's talking about is AI and platforms that we all might be using, etc. So as a coach, what is my responsibility in the code? So there is a new code that's been introduced right there. The other one is blurring of boundaries. That kept happening. So we've called that out in ICF this time to say 3.7, that I may be serving as an internal coach. I may also be a HR business partner. Now, when I'm interacting with my internal employee as a client, I have to make sure that they understand in terms of which hat am I wearing at which time. So that's what this one is. So with that, this slide I'm going to skip. Saras said that she will send this slide to everybody. This is just some important, useful resources, I would say, if you were to take a coaching related detailing that we want to see. Okay, I'm going to look at the time. Okay, 1 minute only, Nitin, not bad. Okay, so now I can sigh relief. Okay, so what I would like to do is we will use Mentimeter just to make it more interactive. What we're trying to look at is a case study, which actually is inspired by something that came up in the IRB long time back. So of course, all the names and the situation, everything has been changed around. I don't think we have a name also here. But essentially, what happens if the client crosses the line as a coach? What would I do? So let's say I was coaching the CFO of a global organization. The agreement was between the HR, of course, and me. Very clearly, the goal alignment was there, etc. And very clearly, I said that I will not share the content of whatever I discuss with my CFO client. Very clear. And the HR also knew that the ICF standard, so therefore everything was hunky-dory. In those 6 months of my coaching, the CFO was pretty reflective. Sometimes did mention that ethics is just a matter of perspective. But I maintained my coaching stance as a coach, created that self-awareness, or evoked self-awareness, not created, but evoked self-awareness in my client, aligning with their leadership goals of the CFO. Then I was contacted by the legal team saying that the CFO was implicated in a fraud-related investigation. When asked to answer the questions about relevant information that the legal team asked me, I, of course, said that, look, this is not something I'm going to be sharing. This is deeply confidential, etc. But I did share about what did I coach on, etc., how the process was, and so on, as well as some more information about what happened in the coaching progress, etc. So I shared that because that was a requirement from the legal team of theirs. So simple case, is this a breach or no breach? That's what we're trying to look at. And just as how Nitin and Saras were sharing, everybody will have a different perspective, hopefully. So I'm going to open the Mentimeter and, okay, just 1 second. Sorry about this. I have to share one more quick one over there. It is easier for us perhaps to be on the same page if I were to share this, which is when you answer the breach or no breach using the Mentimeter, we're looking at this pillar standard here, which is there on the screen. Yeah, out of all those standards, I've just picked up one standard, which is in our code. We will not share the information unless required by the appropriate authorities, example, illegal activity required by law, valid courts or subpoenas, etc. Or if, of course, there's a risk of danger to self or others. This is in one of the standards there. So I'm going to stop the share. Hopefully technology supports me now. I'm going to open the Mentimeter and request everybody to please join there using Menti. Okay, so I have this code here, 84521680. I hope everybody can see it. Nitin or Saras, can you just maybe put
I
that in
put
the
it in the
chat?
chat.
Excellent, thank you.
84521680.
Perfect. So we all just watch what the 19 of us say in terms of breach or no breach. Now it gets interesting. There are two different views.
Nita, you may not have all the responses because I think some people are waiting for the Mentimeter link. So let me just see how I can enable that. Yeah. Let me just see if I can enable that.
Oh.
Just go to menti.com and immediately it'll ask you a code. You just enter it. I think that's
Correct.
the easiest way to do this.
Yeah. Okay. So, given the time, I'm just watchful of the time. Nitin otherwise will come up with this for us, but just wanted to maybe, can I stop the share at this point of time? Yeah. Okay. So as we can see, about 9 people said no breach, and about half of us thought that it's a breach. So I just want to check in. Anybody wants to share if they said breach or no breach? So we'll take one breach and one no breach. Anybody wants to unmute, please? It just feels lonely talking. Varsha, you came off mute. Go ahead. And Vinod.
Yeah, maybe Varsha can go first.
Vinod, please go ahead.
Sure. Okay. So I felt it was not a breach because it's the legal team, not a law enforcement agency. And the coach did the right thing in terms of saying what was the contour of the conversation, but not necessarily the details. So I felt it was not a breach because the legal team is not a law enforcement agency. That's how I interpreted it.
Interesting. Okay. Varsha, were you also on the same side as Vinod?
No, I thought it was a breach because, it's a different issue whether
Varsha, you're very soft.
Who is it? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me better?
Seems a bit better. Seems a bit better.
Okay. I thought it was a breach because irrespective of whether the legal team is considered law or not, I just thought that, you know, very clearly, uh, ethic, that code that says that, if there is anything that would lead to some kind of illegal activity or self-harm and self-harm and harming others doesn't come into this picture, but illegal activity, I kind of felt that as a coach, somewhere I'm obliged. I may be wrong. I'm just saying. I would feel obliged to kind of report not report, but at least be open to say that I'm not very sure this person is probably, lies in the gray area of, what he thinks is ethics and what is not ethics. So, but that's really my personal opinion. I don't know what is right or wrong in this situation. But, yeah.
Yeah, we all struggle with that, right? Did we do the right thing or not? Like even when Saras and Nitin talked about their current things, everybody's wondering if I do this or if I do this. Yeah, it's like, what is the best out of the ones that look okay? But yeah, so basically when we look at it from an IRB perspective, or we answer these questions for ourselves or in the exam, yeah, anything. I think one of the things will be to really look deeper into what is that particular clause that is under investigation, if you may, or something that'll apply to me. So I hear you, Varsha, that this felt like, how can, we not share something that this person actually did something wrong? Or if you zoom in and actually look at that particular clause, which is actually what got raised, it actually talks about, like as Vinod said, that it talks about unless required by the authorities. And actually this particular case that I brought up, as I said, is a genuine complaint that came up. Some of the contours of it I've changed, but this actually came up. And this particular fraud that was there, alleged fraud, the legal team of that internal company had actually asked for information. So just to say that when you look at the fine print of this, and maybe that's a good time to say that, when we look at the code, please also let's look at what is called the Insights and Consideration for Ethics. It's another document that's there on the site of ICF. It's got some of these nuances that the code, which is just 2 lines each, cannot really define. So it's a good place to look at it. So that actually says, so when we apply this particular situation and then look at the code 2.5, it actually talks about that if it's only required by authorities, then we will. But legal of the particular company or the manager says, come tell me what is happening, we will not share all that information. So yeah, so that's an interesting one. But we have a yet more interesting one that's coming up. So in that, we're now going to do Mentimeter. We're going to break ourselves up into, and Nitin is going to help us with that, break us up into rooms. But before that, I will share the screen, which actually has got something that's, I'm just going to make sure that I have the right one. Okay. Okay. This is an AI related platform related stuff in the code of ethics. Okay. So a global company integrates coaching through internal coaches and external coaches, perhaps more internal, that's what focused on, as well as they also developed a platform internally, which tracks the entire progress of an employee. So it has got all the IDPs, the individual development plans, the performance of each employee as given by the manager. It's got all those things and summaries for every individual is put inside that AI platform of theirs. They have also asked for the internal coaches to summarize their coaching conversations, not naming anybody, but just putting that in. Okay, so now they are characters now. Again, fictitious, very fictitious. I was the one who created fictitious. I used ChatGPT incidentally to also help me create this, to give it some prompts to make sure it's kind of doing what we wanted to highlight over here. So this is Emma is the internal employee. Internal coach is Alex. HR business partner, that's Alex, is from another division. So there was no, conflict of interest, if you may, at that time. Emma discussed her uncertainty about relocation, but wanted coaching to help her think through if there was an opportunity that came up. Because she didn't want to reject mobility, but she had certain constraints. That was one of her coaching topics that she discussed with Alex. So I said, the management was using the AI-driven tool to also kind of on its own look at shortlisting candidates for an overseas role that opened up. And it factored in the coaching summaries, which of course, as I said, was stripped of personal details. So Emma was not selected. Okay. She filed a complaint that said confidentiality breach, that her coaching conversations influence that decision that went against her. There was, she said, an AI-driven bias that the AI coaching summary might have done its own thing. We know that AI typically will not exactly do just that. It may have its own decision-making criteria. Assumptions that AI made, that's also another thing that she said, misjudged her willingness. Blurred boundaries, that Alex as a coach and HR business partner did not clarify how data was being used. Yeah? So those are things that she said. Would this be a breach? No breach. Okay. So given whatever information, there's not a whole lot of information given, but with whatever information has been given, what is it that are there? Saras?
Hari, process question. At any point in time, do you want them to take a photograph or something? Because when we put them into breakout rooms.
I thought that you were going to take a slide of this and send, right? Okay. So in the breakout rooms, you send the slide there. Nitin, how many breakout rooms do you want it to be? I think there are 17 of us, 18 if Ravi joins back. Yeah.
I'll probably break it out into two because you have only 17 people, 3 of us there. So
okay, that's fine. So then what we could do is then we just discuss the 2.5, which is the AI related standard that's been introduced. So both the breakout rooms will work on the same standard, whether it's a breach or no breach. Somebody in the room will be the note taker of sorts to say the rationale as well as breach or no breach. And we come back to the main room. Both the teams will discuss the perspective so that we look at it collectively for experience sharing.
how much time we are providing, Anita?
So it's 7:10. So I guess 10 minutes.
Okay.
To finish in the breakout rooms, and then we come back again and 10 minutes to close.
Okay.
Okay, now that we're back, so did it feel like less time in the room and these guys closed the room just when it was getting interesting?
Totally.
Isn't it? Yeah, I know, it always feels like that, right? I know, but yeah, we're standing between us all and dinner. So therefore, just wanted to make sure that we stay on time. So who are the two people that are spokespersons in this room now? Team 1 and team 2, or room 1, room 2?
I don't think any of us took notes, sorry. But we had two distinct points, and I think one of us would summarize that for you.
Sure, go ahead. Who is that one of us, Aniket?
Nitya, I was looking for Nitya.
Okay, empowered Nitya, go ahead.
I was expecting to be named. But us that it doesn't look like it's a breach because it seems to have been clearly called out that AI related conversations will be summarized. Let me pull that up again. I'm sorry, I'm losing the words.
That's okay.
Yeah, so it says that suggested development plans using summarized confidential coaching conversations. So the client was obviously aware that these summaries will be used. So it seems like Alex was not, Alex did not breach the code of ethics here. That was one point, but I know Aniket had a slightly different point where he said that coaching tools that we use in coaching are very different from the confidential summaries that may come out. So maybe she wasn't aware, and if she wasn't aware, maybe it's a breach. I hope I'm getting that right, Aniket.
Absolutely. Thank you, Nitya.
Perfect. Okay.
So that's where we are.
Okay. Thank you. And I think the other team by Vinod's smile, just says that maybe that they're seeing it differently. I hope so. Vinod?
Yeah,
Or-
I think so. A large majority of us felt it was a breach. The point of breach varied amongst us when we shared it, and a few of us, for some of us, it was at the point of entering the information, and the tool could also be a point of breach here. Second is how the information is getting utilized. That was a gray area, which is very, very personal to the person, like how it landed. So I think where the breach would have occurred was we had different points of view that came up. We also had a point of view in our group around why this may not be a breach as well, which is because at the start of the thing, this is actually contracted and very similar in terms of the clause and summaries are actually used in AI space. I think that could be the reason again why this is not a breach. We also had a very interesting thought saying, okay, at the end of the day, when in doubt, and when you are having this ICF Code of Ethics rules, and this situation being a gray area, we should actually move in the direction of a breach. That was also a point that came in our group here, right? So those were 2, 3 different points. I think the rest of the folks in the group, they can chime in if I missed anything.
Interesting. And yeah, as we're dealing and sitting with this AI stuff and that whole world is obviously we're all leveraging it, right? Like this is not a real life thing that came up, but it's possibly something that could. We all use it so heavily and just in the main room waiting for you guys to come back. Nitin was talking about how he's using AI so much as a companion. He's named it also whatever, etc., and he uses it heavily for assessments, etc. too, right? So it's a
I just want to qualify that learning companion.
learning companion. Yeah. Nice, nice. Okay. So, Saras, what's coming up for you? You were deeply reflective when both the teams were talking about it.
I think one thing that came up is, and from a person who's also not so technologically savvy, what I understand is if I'm using any such tools, I think I need to know what are all the implications as a person. Because at the end of the day, I'm the coach and I need to know it. And then only I would be able to tell the other person. So that's something that came up for me. Yeah. And in fact, that kind of resolved my earlier dilemma as well. While this was related to AI, I also realized that was a choice that I was making as a coach as to decide to include them in the WhatsApp group or not. Whereas coaching is empowering. So shouldn't it be the other person's choice? They need to decide what they can do. So similarly here, only if I know, then only I can, tell my coach, my client as well. That's a thought.
Interesting. Sujata, what came up for you when you're hearing Saras?
Exactly, it's a responsibility of a coach to know, even if it's AI, how long, I mean, where and all it gets connected. So whether whatever I enter, would it be limited to a particular scope, or can it get connected to somewhere else, and then tomorrow it may lead to somebody's emotional status and things like that, or career. So it's not fair. As a coach, I should be responsible to know beforehand. I feel I cannot be ignorant of
Interesting.
just using the tool.
There's so many perspectives, right? That each of us can see it from different lens perspective. There's no right, wrong. Because yes, there is, of course, this case, if it were to come to the IRB, just to be able to do a black and white out of it, this much of information is not sufficient to take a decision. Yeah. The IRB will actually ask and also look for what summary was created, what was uploaded, etc., to be able to make sense. Because obviously, if I create a summary as a coach and I upload it, it's my responsibility, as Sujata said, to make sure that nothing of the client, even remotely, can be connected to my client. Just removing the name doesn't mean anything, right? So in real life also, not real life, in our coaching profession, I've had it many times that somebody says as part of the process that the manager and the client would want to know as to what is the progress. But I will never share it on my own, even if I were to take out all the detailing of the self-awareness, right? I'll always create something as a document that I want to share. But I'll first vet it through my client to say, are you happy with this? Do you want to share this? Do you want to make any edits? So it's a co-authored thing that I will then send, copying my client on it to my to the manager. Similarly, perhaps I will do that even in this AI related thing, right? Because I do not know, as all of you said, where all will this be used, right? So we have no clue. AI, while it's very, very powerful, we use platforms, right? Some of us might be on platforms. Incidentally, I'm not on a platform yet. It's technology-wise a little geeky for me, but I still haven't. But if I were to join a coaching platform, I need to be sure that where else will this information be shared of my client and this relationship that I have between me and my client. If I say with full confidence, whatever is going to be talked about is going to be staying between you and me, and we are using a platform, I need to be very convinced that yes, this platform is not doing any recording using these companions or whatever that come up. Yeah. Because is it that that information is going to be used later on in, of course, a masked manner, but still maybe it can get related to my clients. So it's my responsibility. Thank you, Sujata, for bringing that term in. To say it's my responsibility to know everything that needs to be known. And if I'm not comfortable, I will not get onto that. Yeah. Varsha?
I just wanted to know, is it possible? I mean, not if it's possible. Is there a
Varsha, can everybody hear Varsha, or am I the only one who's having a challenge?
Okay, I'll speak louder. Okay. I wanted to know, does ICF approve of AI-driven platforms for coaching in the first place?
So I think ICF, like any other organization, which is not for profit, etc., cannot dictate to say you can do this, you cannot do this. So I think it can only suggest to say to the platform providers, etc., to say this is the code of ethics that we follow, because the platform can actually be using or be the marketplace, if you may, for ICF coaches. It may be for non-ICF coaches. It may be for mentors, etc. So ICF cannot be the dictating body to tell a platform vendor, because ultimately it's their business. Right? But we need to, as coaches, be informed about how will we show up on that platform. What are our boundaries? How will that be protected for me as well as for my client, right? So that becomes our responsibility to at least know what are we getting into. So I think but great question there, Varsha. So we could go on. This is so interesting, but Nitin, on to you, please. And I know it's 7:30. Saras, Nitin.
So yeah, I think it's for me, and let me just quickly. Actually, I did not have much to really share, but I did want to share a few things, which I thought would be important uh, to share with all of you, and that is, let me just put that up 1 second. All right, let me just share with you. What I'm going to share with each one of you is, if you permit, I would be sharing with you the ICF resources list, which Anita has kindly shared with us. So, and that's an ICF, thing which is available for everybody. So I would be sending that out to you. And I also did, while we are bringing this to a close, and I know, Anita, you've been kind enough to extend it, till the time that you could. And
Thank you for anything. I just enjoy being in this space. So please, yeah, I have nothing better to do.
Absolutely. Okay. So just quickly wanted to share a few things which would be useful. And that is, this is what I'm going to be sending out to each one of you. And also wanted to check with you, maybe do a quick poll. These are some of the ways you could engage with us. And I also wanted to do a quick poll to find out from people. And let me just start the poll. If this is something you would like to. Yeah. And because we've done ethics, I thought it was very useful. I hope you're able to see what is coming up on your screen. Yeah, all right. So if you just let us know, and we would also try and see make sure that we would be able to share such information of such webinars that we would like to have. The idea is to make sure systemically there's learning and growth, as we said. All right. I think think there are a few people, so it'll be 14, 17 minus 14. That makes 3 of us, I guess. All right, great. Thank you. I'm just getting a confirmation from. Thank you. Thank you very much. And yeah, so I don't know if I need to share the results, but I think that's all right. So let me just quickly, there are ways in which you can engage with us if you think that's relevant for you. We do have a community which we will be sending along with the resources list. And the purpose of this community is actually our long-term dream is you decide what you want to do with this community. So if it's important for, let's say today Varsha has something that I know, and I know she's great at assessments, right? If there's something that she's going to bring in her expertise and share with people, why not? So it's something that can be, and everything in and around coaching, people development, change. I think change is really the core, and any opportunities that you feel that are important to be shared with others. So you have a project which has come up, which needs like 5 coaches. Why should you lose the opportunity? Use this community to help yourself to resource that particular opportunity as well. So that's really the purpose of this community. And that's it. I think my traditional question would have been, what's your one word checkout feeling?
More informed, but definitely ICF has a way of keeping us confused. So I've posted a question in the chat for the experts here. If there is a rule, like we say, it's better to err on the side of caution. So is there something like that the ICF tells when you're confused, just, go do this default thing? So
It's a choice. I remember one of my global HR leaders long time back, right? So he said that ethics is really about, yes, these decisions, but if I can sleep peacefully at night, knowing that I did what is right, then I have been ethical. So I just love that. That just stayed with me always. If I can sleep well, that's what it is.
Anita, I just wanted to add to that something we discussed yesterday. A term called phronesis, Phronesis. And I came across this word about, since the time that I've been talking to Anita actually. And this phronesis is the practical wisdom of everyday life that you bring through it's a Greek word. Aristotle actually spoke about this. And it's about bringing those practical wisdom from your experiences in a manner that enables you to do good. And that's one of those things that ICF has, do good rather than, avoid bad. So to be able to do that. So somewhere I think that's what ICF nudges us towards. And the choices you need to make. So is your thought, is your emotion, is your gut aligned with your hand, which is the action or the behavior, how you show up? Yeah. So that's what it sounded like. So if you want, please go ahead and research more on phronesis. It's the practical wisdom of everyday life and a very nice. Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody, for being here. Lovely.
Yeah. Thank you,
Stay
Sarah.
blessed,
Thank you, Anita.
everybody.
Thank you,
Bye.
Suresh.
Take
Thank you,
care.
Anita.
Bye.
Thank
See you.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.